The situation was heating up to the limit. Tina didn't think that her husband could catch her. Khalif's hands were strong and used to work, and it was not difficult for them to hold Tina up while he roughly and deeply. Tina lived in Beverly Hills, in a home that whispered wealth from every marble corner. 62, yes, but every inch of her still glowed with the radiance of a woman who refused to fade. Her skin was golden from the California sun, her curves still proud beneath silk robes, and her eyes, those eyes were wild with hunger, a hunger that had not been satisfied in years. Her husband Gerald was somewhere between tired and tedious. He grumbled more than he spoke, spent more time with his stocks than with her, and barely looked up when she entered the room. The fire that once burned in him had long turned to ash. And the children? Grown and gone, scattered in London, too busy chasing their futures to remember what their mother needed. Tina needed something real, something bold, something that didn't ask permission. That afternoon, she called for a pool cleaning service. Routine, just maintenance. But when the van pulled into the driveway, and the man who stepped out walked toward her glass doors, Tina dropped her crystal tumbler. He was tall, at least 6'3", muscles that flexed with every step. His skin was black and bronze, like sunlit obsidian, and it glistened with a sheen that wasn't sweat. It was power. She stared, utterly caught, as he approached in a sleeveless tank that clung to his sculpted chest. His arms were carved, not built. His neck, thick and commanding. His jawline, dangerous. And then, he spoke. "Afternoon, ma'am. I'm Khalif, here for the pool." His voice was deep, rich like molasses, with a growl beneath it that could melt metal. Tina didn't respond right away. Her heart skipped. Her mind went blank. She could feel heat rising between her legs like a silent alarm. She forced a smile, nodded, then stepped aside to let him in. She poured herself a drink, whiskey, neat, and sat on a lounge chair in a white silk robe, nothing underneath. She watched him work. Every movement, every twist of his body was a performance she couldn't look away from. Water splashed against his chest, soaking the tank top, clinging to abs that moved like waves. His back flexed as he bent over, revealing muscles that looked sculpted by something divine. Tina's thighs pressed together. She was already gone. She sipped her whiskey like it was air. Eyes locked on Khalif. He didn't look her way once. He didn't need to. He knew. She could feel it in the way he moved. He was the kind of man who didn't chase. Women came to him, begged for him, submitted. When he finished, he wiped sweat from his brow, walked over and said, "Pool's done." Tina rose, slow and deliberate, letting the robe slip just a little from her shoulder. "And how much do I owe you?" He shrugged. $220. She handed him $400 in crisp bills. He looked down at the cash, then up at her with a calm stare. "I can't take that, ma'am." She stepped forward, placed her hand gently on his chest. Warm, firm, alive. Her fingers dragged down, lingering at the edge of his shirt. "Then maybe there's something else you can help me with." He said nothing. She led him through the hallway to the garage. It was cooler there, quiet. A single light bulb hanging above cast shadows across the glossy hood of Gerald's prized black Mercedes. Tina turned, pulled the robe open just enough to make her point. Khalif stepped closer. His hand went to her waist. No more words. What happened next, she would remember with every breath for the rest of her life. He didn't hesitate. His hands gripped her waist like he was claiming her, and Tina melted into his touch. The robe slipped down her arms and fell to the floor without a sound. Her skin flushed under the cool air of the garage, but Khalif's heat erased any shiver. He spun her gently, placed her back against the hood of the Mercedes. The polished surface was cold, but her body burned. He lowered her slowly, letting her feel every inch of him, his chest brushing against hers, his breath warm on her neck. His hands explored her thighs, her waist, her back, with a confidence that made her gasp. Tina wasn't a shy woman, but this was different. Khalif didn't ask. He didn't whisper sweet things or pretend. He moved like he knew what her body craved before she did. His lips trailed along her collarbone, strong hands pinning her to the metal beneath them. Her legs wrapped around him instinctively, needing him closer. Her fingers dug into his shoulders, marveling at the sheer power packed under his skin. His muscles weren't for show. They were built, earned, meant for moments like this. He lifted her slightly, adjusted her just so, and she surrendered with a moan that echoed in the stillness of the garage. Outside, the world continued its lazy California afternoon. Inside, Tina was consumed. Every thrust, every kiss, every slow, delicious grind sent electricity through her veins. She arched against him, lips parted, breath catching as his body moved in perfect rhythm with hers. She was in awe of his strength, of his confidence, of the raw masculinity he carried so effortlessly. She had never been handled like this, not in decades, maybe not ever. He took his time, controlled, intentional. He didn't rush through pleasure. He commanded it. Her body trembled with every wave, her head falling back, hair spilling across the shiny hood. The garage light flickered once, and it only made the moment more cinematic, more forbidden. She whispered his name once, just once, and his eyes met hers, dark, dominant, unwavering. Tina had always prided herself on being strong, even a little dominant. She led, she teased, she played games. But with Khalif, none of that mattered. He made her want to obey, to be claimed, to belong, even just for one night, to a man who knew exactly what he was doing. The hour stretched, pulsed with intensity, until finally, they collapsed into each other. Her hands clung to his back, her cheek resting on his shoulder, her breath unsteady. Khalif held her like she was something precious. Even after the storm had passed, they stayed like that, entwined, silent, warm. Eventually, he helped her up, gently fixing the robe around her shoulders. She kissed his jaw once, her lipstick leaving the faintest trace. He smiled, his chest still heaving. "I should go," he said quietly. She nodded, not trusting her voice. He grabbed his bag, and without another word, he disappeared into the California sun. Tina stood there, wrapped in silk and silence. Her heart was still racing, her thighs still tingled. She reached for the edge of the car, bracing herself, trying to steady the shaking in her knees. Her husband was still asleep in the guest lounge. He wouldn't wake until evening. He wouldn't notice the soft shift in her gaze, the way her hips swayed a little differently, the glow on her skin. She stayed in the garage for almost an hour, just breathing. Nothing in her life had ever come close. Not a lover, not a memory, not a fantasy. That wasn't just a man. That was a force of nature. And for one perfect, burning hour, she had been caught in the eye of the storm. The garage was quiet now. The echo of their bodies, their sounds, their rhythm, gone. But Tina still felt him, in her bones, in her breath, in the deep throb between her thighs. She walked back into the house barefoot, robe barely tied, her hair wild and lips swollen from the kisses that had left her undone. She poured herself another whiskey, hands trembling slightly, not from nerves, no, those were gone, but from the rush that still pulsed under her skin like a second heartbeat. Her husband snored faintly from the other side of the house, unaware that his wife had just been conquered on the hood of his favorite car. Tina looked at herself in the mirror above the bar. There she was, 62, silver hair tousled, robe sliding off one shoulder. But her eyes sparkled like they hadn't in years. She wasn't thinking about age or time or rules. She was thinking about Khalif, about the way he moved, about the way he made her feel, like a woman worth worshipping. She didn't expect to see him again, and she was right. The next day came and went. The sun rose. The mail arrived. Her husband complained about a draft in the hall. Life continued, and yet Tina felt different. She walked differently, sat differently, smiled differently, as if she carried a secret, her own delicious little truth. She never called the pool company again. She didn't need to. That single afternoon had been enough, more than enough. It had filled a hollow inside her that had been echoing for years. And though she didn't dare say it out loud, part of her knew. Nothing would ever match it. No touch, no glance, no whispered promise in the dark. Because Khalif hadn't made promises. He had made fire. She would never forget his body, the sheen of sweat on dark skin, the ridges of his abs as he lifted her like air, the way his muscles flexed and danced beneath his shirt as he worked. He was made of tension and heat and silence, and when he spoke, his voice curled around her like velvet. She could still hear it. "Afternoon, ma'am. I'm Khalif." He had taken her with no fear, no performance, no games, and she had given in like she'd waited her whole life to do so. Weeks passed. Her husband remained the same, grumbling, distracted, slow. He never noticed how Tina looked at herself in the mirror now. Never noticed the way she sat on the patio longer, in the evenings, sipping her drink, smiling softly at the sky as if remembering a secret. Sometimes, at night, she'd slip into the garage, lean against the car, and close her eyes. She could feel the cold metal under her thighs again, could feel his hands, his breath, his weight, and she'd smile. She didn't regret a thing. Not the kiss, not the hour on the Mercedes, not the soft goodbye with no strings attached. Tina wasn't naive. She knew what it had been, a collision, a perfect wild accident of flesh and fire. But it had been hers, all hers, and no one could take that away. One evening, months later, she received a postcard in the mail with no return address. Just one sentence, written in a bold, slanted hand. "You looked like a queen that day." No name, no city, just those words. She stared at the postcard for a long time, then pressed it to her lips, and laughed. Yes, she thought, a queen. That's exactly what she had felt like. And some queens, they still burn, even at 62.